scariest monster is the one you don't see coming. Not the one in the alley. Not the one holding a knife. But the one, smiling across the table, wearing your last name, or your company's logo. And maybe the most dangerous of all, the one hiding in you. You think you've never met a psychopath. You think you can spot a sociopath from across the room. You think you're safe just because you're good. That's the first lie. The one they want you to believe. Because the truth is this: you were raised to be to be polite, to be forgiving, to lower your eyes and keep your mouth shut, while predators roam free. Carl Jung said, "The shadow is the person you would rather not be." But what if the shadow isn't just within you? What if the shadows walk among us? In suits, in robes, in uniforms, with smiles so warm they could melt your guard. Psychopath, sociopath. You hear the words, but you don't know what they mean. Not really. And that ignorance, it's a weapon used against you. Because one destroys with silence. The other, with chaos. And if you don't know the difference, you'll never see the ambush coming. Until your soul is already bleeding. Let me take you somewhere dark. Not to scare you, but to arm you. You were not meant to hear this. They don't want you to know this. Because once you do, you're no longer food. You become a hunter, a strategist, a sovereign. Let's begin with the first mask. The psychopath. You imagine a serial killer. Ice cold eyes. Blood on their hands. Wrong. That's the Hollywood version. The obvious monster. The real psychopath is quiet, still, calculated. They don't need to rage. They don't need to scream. They control with precision, with charm, with subtle cruelty that makes you question your own sanity. They don't feel guilt, not like you do. They don't panic. They planned. They're the boss who smiles as they steal your ideas. The partner who mimics love but never bleeds when they break you. The friend who always makes you feel a little smaller every time you speak. But here's the terrifying part: they study you. They observe what makes you tick. They memorize your voice, your fears, your smile, and then they use it all against you. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to fit into society. But psychopaths, they've mastered the art of wearing your mask better than you wear it yourself. They reflect back what you want. They copy your empathy, they echo your dreams, and then they gut you, slowly, cleanly, without a trace. And when it's over, they walk away untouched. Because they were never in it emotionally. You were all in. You bet your soul on a mask. Now, the sociopath? Oh, they're different. Where the psychopath is cold steel, the sociopath is fire. You feel them when they enter the room. The chaos follows. Loud, unpredictable, rageful. A storm that demands attention, forgiveness, power. They don't calculate. They explode. They don't seduce. They dominate, but make no mistake. They still feed on control. They lash out when the world doesn't bow. They scream when rules try to contain them, and they break people not with charm, but with emotional violence. The sociopath doesn't wear a mask. They rip yours off. They want to see you naked, vulnerable, trembling, not to understand you, but to feel powerful over you. And yet, people love them. Why? Because sometimes they're exciting. Because sometimes they make you feel alive. Because in a world full of beige and boredom, the sociopath is fire, and like moths, we burn in their orbit. But here's the truth that no one wants to admit. Psychopaths rise in silence. Sociopaths rise in chaos, and both thrive on your blindness. You were trained to see the world in black and white, heroes and villains, good and evil. But the real world isn't black and white. It's blood red and shadow gray. And if you don't see it clearly, you become part of the body count. Your trust, your time, your energy, gone. Devoured by people who only saw you as a resource. Not a human. Not a soul. Just fuel. And here's the worst part. You feel like it's your fault. You think, maybe I wasn't enough. You wonder, why didn't I see it sooner? But it was never your fault. You were raised in a system that taught you to ignore your gut.to, be agreeable.to, doubt your instincts. And that system? It breeds victims. But not anymore. Because once you know the game, you stop being a pawn. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even flinch if you died. You stop apologizing for your rage. Your depth. Your clarity. Carl Jung believed that the only way to truly become whole was to face your shadow. But today, you won't just face it, you'll wield it. Because the only thing more dangerous than a psychopath is a person who's met their shadow and made it a weapon. The question is, are you ready to become that person? Or will you keep mistaking wolves for lovers until there's nothing left of you but a smile you no longer recognize? Stay with me. What comes next will rip the mask off this world, and you'll never look at your past the same way again. They walk among you, not with claws or fangs, not with blood-soaked hands, but with smiles, with charm, with the perfect mask. And you've probably met one. You just didn't realize it until it was too late. That's what makes this so dangerous. See, the real power of a psychopath isn't in what they do. It's in how they make you doubt your own reality. Now you're second-guessing your gut, questioning your instincts, rewriting your memories to fit their story. And that's the shadow Jung tried to warn us about. The predator that doesn't just lurk outside. It lives inside the system. Inside the people you trust. Inside you, if you're not careful. Let's go deeper. Because here's a truth no one dares to say out loud. The psychopath doesn't need chaos. They create it. And the sociopath, they feed on it. They want you unbalanced, unstable, unraveling, because that's when you're easiest to control. Think about that boss who always kept you walking on eggshells. The partner who turned every mistake into a guilt trip. The so-called friend who jokes about your insecurities in front of others. They were training you, conditioning you to stay small. To serve their power while thinking it was your fault. Jung believed we all carry a shadow, but the psychopath, they are the shadow weaponized. They've made peace with it. More than that, they worship it. They see morality not as a compass, but as a leash to snap. And here's the twisted part. It works. These people rise. They win. They get power, money, influence, and the world, blind as it is, applauds them for it. Because society doesn't reward truth. It rewards control. Let that sink in. You live in a world designed to protect the mask, not tear it off. That's why psychopaths thrive in boardrooms and politics. In relationships. They know how to wear the right skin for the right occasion. One moment, they're your savior. The next, your executioner. And you'll thank them for both. But here's the dividing line between a psychopath and a sociopath. The difference that could save you if you know how to see it. Psychopaths are cold, calculated, icy. They play long games. They don't lose sleep. They don't feel guilt because they were never wired for it. Their strength isn't rage. It's detachment. And you'll never see it coming because it's all so clean. They don't argue. They don't explode. They simply decide, and you vanish, your reputation ruined, your sanity questioned, your world dismantled brick by brick by someone who smiled the entire time. Now contrast that with the sociopath. The sociopath burns fast. They're erratic, impulsive, reckless. You can smell the fire on them, feel the instability in their presence. They crave chaos, not because it's useful, but because it's familiar. Most sociopaths come from deep emotional scars, abandonment, abuse. They didn't choose this path. They were forged in it, so they lash out, sabotage what they touch. Not because they planned it, but because they can't help it. One destroys strategically, the other spontaneously, but both leave devastation in their wake. And here's the part you must understand. Neither of them will ever feel sorry for you. Empathy is a language they don't speak. To them, emotions are weaknesses, tools to be played, not respected. You cry, they smile. You beg, they twist the knife, deeper. Not out of hatred, not even out of cruelty, but out of boredom. Because you are not a person to them. You are an object. That's why you must stop looking for closure. Stop hoping they'll change. Stop trying to make them see what they did to you. They saw it, they enjoyed it, and here's where the forbidden truth comes in. Your pain is their power, and every second you spend analyzing, explaining, defending. You're still feeding them. You want to break free? Then you must become what they fear. Not another victim, but a strategist, a sovereign, a being who sees through the mask and above the manipulation. Because predators only hunt what they believe is prey. And when you stop acting like prey, they vanish. They move on. They lose all control. That's when you become untouchable. But before you get there, you need to go into your own darkness. You need to confront the part of you that let them in, the wound that needed validation, the fear that mistook cruelty for love. Because here's the final truth Jung whispered. It's not enough to know the shadow in others. You must face the shadow in yourself. The weakness they exploited, it lives in your story, in your unmet needs, in your unspoken wounds. But you are not broken. You are unfinished, and the moment you start rewriting your script is the moment they lose all their power over you. This isn't about hate. This is about clarity. The cold, sharp light that burns illusions to ash. And now that you've tasted it, you can never unsee it. You feel it, don't you? That shift in your gut. That quiet rage boiling into focus. That edge in your voice you never had before. Good, that's the beginning. The predator is no longer watching you. You are watching them. And what comes next will change everything. So now you see them. The masks. The smiles. The subtle cues that once felt normal, but now scream predator. You've awakened. But that's not enough. Because seeing the darkness isn't the same as defeating it. You want freedom? You want power? Then you must go deeper. Into yourself. This isn't a war of fists. It's a war of perception. Of boundaries. Of identity. And Carl Jung, he didn't just teach us how to recognize the shadow. He taught us how to integrate it. To own it. Because if you don't claim your inner power, someone else will. And here's what that looks like. You start asking different questions. Not why did they hurt me? But what in me allowed it to continue? That's not self-blame, that's self-ownership. It's how you turn pain into precision. Because every psychopath needs a crack in the armor, a weakness to slide their claws into, and that crack is always emotional. It's the need to be liked, to be accepted, to feel seen. They watch for that. Like wolves sniffing blood, and once they find it, they mirror it, reflecting your deepest desires back at you. They become the perfect partner, the ideal friend, the mentor you never had, but it's a performance, and the moment they gain control, the mask slips. Now it's manipulation. Now it's guilt. Now it's your fault, every time. But here's the part they never expect. The moment you stop needing them is the moment they lose you. That's how you fight back. You don't scream, you don't beg. You don't argue, you detach. Coldly, quietly, completely. Because that's the one thing they can't handle. Someone who sees through the illusion and walks away without a word, and no chaos, and no breakdown. Just silence. That silence, it's their worst nightmare. Because it means they no longer have control. They feed off your reactions, your anger, your pain. So when you go ghost, when you reclaim your energy, you starve them. And that is the true power shift. But to reach this level, you must do what most people are too afraid to do. You must train your mind like a weapon. Not with violence. With awareness, you start noticing patterns, gaslighting, love bombing, triangulation, silent treatment, backhanded compliments. These aren't random, they're tools, tactics, psychological warfare dressed as affection, and the more you study them, the less power they have over you. Because knowledge is your armor, and boundaries are your sword. You draw the line. You say no without explanation. You walk away without guilt, and when they push, when they bait you, when they try to pull you back into the storm, you don't flinch, you observe. Because now you're not just someone who survived, you're someone who evolved. You became the one thing they never expected, someone who learned their game and became untouchable. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman, gentle, kind, always giving. She met a man who made her feel seen for the first time. He said all the right things, treated her like a queen, but slowly, it changed. The compliments turned into control. The affection became criticism, and one day, she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. She had become a shell. afraid to speak, afraid to feel, until one night, she woke up, not from sleep, but from illusion. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She documented. She planned. She left. And when he tried to pull her back with apologies and guilt, she said one word. No, that was it. That single word shattered years of control. Because power isn't loud, it's decisive. And that woman? She didn't just survive the psychopath. She outgrew him. That's what you're here for. Not revenge. Not rage, but rebirth. The version of you that no longer needs validation. The one who trusts their gut. The one who sees manipulation for what it is, a sign of their weakness, not yours. Remember what Jung said. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is your moment. Stop calling it fate and start calling it what it really is, a test. You were never meant to stay broken. You were meant to rise. See clearly. Become sovereign over your mind and soul. And now you know how. You've seen the shadow. You've studied its tactics. You've reclaimed your power. But there's one final transformation waiting, and it's the most important one of all. Because in the end, it's not just about spotting the predator. It's about becoming the type of person they can never touch again. The final part is about turning your pain into protection, your wounds into wisdom, and your silence into strength. You ready for that? You made it this far. Not everyone does. Most people, they stay asleep, trapped in polite conversations with predators, nodding, smiling, dying inside. But you chose to see, and now you'll never be the same. This is your rebirth. But don't expect applause. Powerful people don't get cheers. They get targeted. Because the second you become untouchable, you become threatening to those who fed on your silence. So be it. Because here's the final, forbidden truth. When you integrate your shadow, you become immune to theirs. You've seen the games. You've felt the knives behind the smiles. But now, you carry your own edge. Not to hurt, but to cut through. Illusion. Let's go deeper. You see, the sociopath, they want compliance. They want a puppet. They don't want you aware. They want you emotionally available but mentally vacant. That's how they control. But the new you, you've become dangerous. Not because you yell, but because you don't need. Need is the leash. Detachment is the blade that severs it. You've rewired the source of your power. It's not how much you give, it's how well you protect what's sacred. Your time, your focus, your peace. The people still, enslaved to sociopaths and psychopaths, they still believe love means sacrifice, that loyalty means silence, that kindness means being devoured slowly. But you know better now. You've met your shadow. You faced the truth, that sometimes you were too good, too soft, too forgiving, and it made you a playground for manipulators. But not anymore, because when you look in the mirror now, you don't just see the wounds. You see the weapon forged from them. That's the part Jung warned the world about. But most never understood that he didn't want us to destroy the shadow, he wanted us to own it. Because only when you claim the darkness within you, can you stop being controlled by the darkness outside you. You want real freedom? It's not in cutting ties, it's in cutting illusions. Illusions like, I owe them kindness. I must forgive to heal. I have to understand why they hurt me. No, sometimes the only answer is this. They are broken beyond your repair. They were never your responsibility. And your survival does not require their permission. That's not cold, that's clarity. Clarity is liberation. And liberation, that's when they can no longer predict you. Because they no longer own any part of you. The emotional strings? Cut. The guilt? Dissolved. The shame? Burned in the fire of truth. You are clean. Reborn in the ashes of your old identity. The one who played nice while bleeding. The one who explained their worth to people who were deaf to it. The one who waited for apologies that never came. Let them go. Let them be confused by your silence. Let them choke on your absence. Let them wander, wondering how their favorite puppet became a sword. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them understanding. You owe yourself protection, peace, power. The kind of power that doesn't scream. It just walks away and never looks back. And now you understand. This whole journey wasn't about them. It was about you. About waking up to a deeper truth. That your shadow was never your enemy. It was your guardian. Waiting for you to stop dimming, stop folding, stop begging to be seen. You see yourself now, and that's all that matters. You see how the world is wired. Some people will always seek control. But control only works on those who seek approval. You no longer need approval. You are the judge. You are the gate. You are the final word on who enters your life and who fades into your past, forgotten. That is dominance. That is self-mastery. And that is what it means to walk Jung's path. Not just theory. Not just quotes in books, but real power in real life. Now take a deep breath. Look back once, not with regret, but with recognition. That was your old self. The one who needed saving. But this you is the savior. And to everyone still trapped in manipulation, still shackled by guilt, you now carry the key. The shadow isn't evil, it's a warning system. It's your gut. It's your primal intelligence. Trust it. Let it walk beside you. Because in this life, it's not the loudest who win. It's the ones who know exactly who they are. And now, so do you. If this message hit your soul, comment below. Let them know you woke up, that you cut the strings, that you're done being prey. Like, subscribe, and step into the next level of your power. Because this was never about revenge. It was about reclamation. The old you died. The new you? Unbreakable, unreachable, unstoppable. Welcome to your shadow. Now, own it.